Hey everybody, this is Jack Stangiani, and in this video I'm going to be explaining how I have paired my Akai MKP25 to my Korg Electribe EMX-1. So I should just start by saying this is going to be very basic MIDI 101 stuff that I've just recently learned about. So if you're more advanced with MIDI, then you probably won't get much out of this video, and it really is specific to the Akai MPK MIDI keyboards and the EMX. So we're going to go over assigning the controls to the knobs and everything on the keyboard. So basically, we'll go ahead and jump right in. What I have done, if you look at your EMX, I've basically stuck with mainly this section of the panel here. Part common, modulation, oscillators, and your filters. There are a couple things that I do not have assigned over here. I could have, like with the effects or the type of modulation. I do believe I have that set up, but these are these rotary encoders just spin forever. So there are a couple caveats to this. What would be, for instance, the modulation set to 0 on the EMX is actually something like around 63, I believe. It's basically a halfway point. So you can't really zero it out and expect to get no modulation. It actually pushes it to the complete extreme with the modulation. Here's an example. So, as you can see, it's going to be like that with every one of these, but it is nice to have just to keep stress off of the potentiometers on your EMX, and it's good to have with a keyboard just to freak out and kind of go nuts and experiment live and everything. I do have a couple other things set up here. I was trying to figure out a good way to use the mod wheel. I ended up having it set up just to turn the effects on and off. So full up, the effect is on, and then once it gets past that halfway threshold, it turns it off. Again, I'm just learning and exploring with all of this, so I'm sure over time I will find better use and more efficient ways to do this. But we're going to go ahead and get started. So what I went ahead and did, one thing that you cannot do apparently with the MPK series is on the fly just select a new MIDI channel, which would be great because you've got 5 synth parts on the EMX. So you want to go and you have your bass, and then you want to switch to a lead or a different lead or whatever. It would be really nice to do that on the fly. My one workaround for that is I went ahead and set it up to, these 5 presets. I actually start mine on channel 2 because I use synth channel 1 for my DMX lighting, and it doesn't always, more often than not, does not correspond well to something like a bass line, a bass riff. So I leave part 1 muted. So I'm really only using 2, 3, 4, and 5, and that's for all intents and purposes, these will be the same across the board. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So to switch between your presets, for your different synth channels, I basically have each preset as its own channel. This is preset 1. We're going to go ahead and start 2. So you just use the knob here. I'm sorry about the poor lighting, but the knob right up here, and then enter to load. Okay, so first thing you're going to do is go to edit mode. Whatever you touch on here is what it's going to allow you to edit. So octave means that you're touching the keyboard. These pads are for note. Notepads 1 through 12. Up here for these knobs, you can see it changes to control change. Those are the big three, and then of course you've got pitch and bend wheel and your modulation wheel. We're going to go ahead and start with the keyboard. It seems like the most logical place. So anytime you want to select something, you're going to push that master control button. Now you've got setting. So as you can see, what I have for preset 2, this is already set default to 3A. That just means MIDI channel 3, which is what this is. You've got MIDI channels 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then for drums, I believe it's most commonly accepted that these are just all MIDI channel 10, and they would use different notes, corresponding notes through MIDI to trigger if it's a kick or a snare. For right now, we're going to go ahead and stick with the synth stuff since we're working with the keyboard. So I already have it set here, but you can, I can move this over to 4 and then it'll activate 4, and same thing goes with 5, but we're going to keep it at 3. Set the octave that you want. And then you're going to push this again. So that's basically entered in. Every time I change a section, whether it is the keyboard, the drum pads, or the knobs, I go back to preset, and I do this to save my work as you go. You're going to press this the right arrow here. You have cancel to the left, and then to the right here. If you press that, save to 02, which is this preset. Or you can save it to whichever one you want, 3, 4, 5. We're going to save it to 2. Press enter. Now that information that we just edited is saved in here. I am not sure of another way to do it. I highly recommend just saving your work as frequently as possible. We all know how this goes. You get far, you forget, you get a power cut, something happens, dog trips over the surge protector, you lose all your work. Just continuously save that progress. That cannot be stressed enough. So now we're going to get into, we'll go ahead and do the drum pads. Right? So as you can see, MIDI channel 10A. Some of these are not set up. I haven't finished doing that. So we can go ahead and do that now. I did it the way it makes the most sense. Kick and snare. Or this could be a clap, and then I would have these set up as hi-hats because I use both hands. Right now I'm holding the phone or my camera with one hand. So, but again, I like where these are at, and that corresponds to where it would normally be. Okay, but this one right here, pad 6, it does correspond to 6 there. But I actually like to have it correspond to 4 because these are usually closed hi-hat, open hi-hat. So I want to get this guy to go to 4. So I'm going to go back into edit mode. And it's set up for note. And I noticed with these, it's every other, it seems like it skips. Like right now it's set to CC42, the control change 42. But if I go to 41, that seemed to work. A lot of these skip, where it'll be 40 or 42 or 44, but this one is right on the money. So that's the one that I want. Easy as that. MTY and CPR, I don't know. I don't know what they are yet. Should probably read the manual, but I'm not good at learning that way, and I'm guessing you might not be either, and that's why you're watching a video instead of reading a manual. So now that I've got that where I want it, I'm going to push this master button. Okay, and then I'm going to go back to preset. Press this right arrow. Save to 02. Push it again. Now, that'll always be there. So when I go to change to another preset, I'm going to use this master control wheel. Push enter. And then we're going to go back to 2. Load that one. It'll be there forever now. Now to name your preset something different, as you can see here, EMX-1 channel 2 is my first preset. I want to change this to EMX-1 channel 3. You're just going to take this arrow, press it once, and it'll ask you if you want to save to whatever preset slot. Press it again, and it'll prompt you to change the name. Using the jog wheel, we will edit the name. I know this is just riveting stuff. Please feel free to fast forward. You're not going to miss anything at all. And then I'm going to push this to enter to save it. EMX-1 channel 3. So now we got channel 2 and channel 3, and this would be channel 4. Okay. Now, we're going to move on to assigning these knobs. So I lucked out, and what you have here are 12 knobs. You can look at it as 2 rows or 2 banks of 6 knobs, which happens to correspond well with the knobs here. So you've got 2, 4, 6, and then on this side 2, 4, 6. So it made the most logical sense to me to just have them correspond identically on here and on here. So what I went ahead and did is I printed out the control change, because again, much of this with MIDI completely eludes me. This is very basic stuff, but I feel like this is an excellent start. So here you have the map. The offset, just, it doesn't mean anything other than that's the number they've designated for the name. You've got controls, oscillator type, edit 1, edit 2, modulation speed, and modulation depth. So you've got your oscillation type right here, 1 and 2, and then up here you've got your speed and depth for the modulation. So the CC, or the control change number here, they are not in any numerical sequence. They're all out of sequence, but that's fine. It's rewrite these if you want, but I found it not really necessary. So we're gonna go ahead and start. We'll start with something that you can hear the effect. It's more of a dramatic effect. So we're gonna go to modulation, speed, and depth. Okay, so I'm over here at preset 3, which to me would be MIDI channel 4, synth part 4. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go into edit mode again. I'm going to just touch the whatever control I want to edit, and as you can see there, control change, and then I'm going to press enter. So I'm going to be editing this top right button here. So what you'll see is MIDI channel CC, then you'll see this flashing number and 0 through 127. What I have done, since I have a separate preset on this controller for every synth part, I'm not keeping this as a global control, which is that CC right there. I found that it ends up screwing up quite a bit, and a lot of functions don't work. I'm going to scroll. I'm going to use this left arrow and scroll over to CC. I'm going to use the jog wheel. I'm going to change it to MIDI channel 4A, which is this synth part on the EMX-4. I'm going to use the arrow here, and then we've got 15. So that is the actual control change number. What we want, since we're using the far right, we're editing the far right knob here, is we want modulation depth. So I'm going to look on the cheat sheet here. I've got modulation depth. That is CC number 90. Right now it's set to 15. I'm going to use the jog wheel and get it up to 90. Okay, so you can hear the changes you're making in real time, which is nice. So we know that works. We just changed the modulation depth as intended. 0 through 127. This is the parameters for it's the overall value. If you were to think of it like volume, 127 would be full volume. 0 would be completely muted. For the most part, especially with all of these functions, I keep it 0 to 127, from nothing to as wild as it can possibly go, the broadest spectrum possible. And when we're done doing all of that, we've got the synth part we want, we've got the CC number, which is modulation speed, that's 90 on here, and we've got the parameters that specific control is going to be working under, which is as much as, as wide as possible. We like everything there. We're going to press. It says press enter. Well, you push this button again to press enter. Okay. Now that I did that, I'm going to go back to preset, which takes you out to the main screen. I'm going to press the right button. It's going to ask if I want to save to preset 3, which I do. I'm going to push that master encoder to enter it, and now we are good. So let's just turn the arpeggiator on. Great, so it works. You're going to repeat this step wherever you like, as many times as you like, but with the MPK, if you're using it specifically with the EMX, what I suggest you do is make one preset for one channel, whichever one, pick one, I guess, channel 1. Edit all of the parameters that you want, save that, and then simply copy. Don't change the name or anything, or maybe change it just to say EMX or whatever. Then just copy it to every other preset in the MPK, because the parameters everything's going to be the same. It's going to be the same knobs controlling the same things, same keys, etc. And then you only have to fine tune each preset instead of programming and assigning every single knob every single time for every preset. That's just a time suck. You really don't need to do it. It's far more efficient to just make like a master template for the EMX and then put it in 5 different preset slots, and then go from there and just edit them. So, you've got 5 individual channels. That way you can just quickly move the encoder over, press enter, and switch the effect that you want. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do a couple more of these just to make sure we've got it down. The next one I want to go ahead and do is going to be up here, the modulation speed. Right here, modulation speed 89. You see how that works? Mod speed and mod depth are 89 and 90. 89 and 90. 89 and 90. Modulation speed, modulation depth. Exactly like it is set up on the EMX. We're going to go into edit mode. We're going to see how if I press that key, it goes to octave. Well, if I turn this knob, immediately it goes to control change, which is what we want. We're going to set this to MIDI channel 4, I believe, is what we wanted. We're going to set the CC number to 89. Leave everything else the way it is. Press enter. Again, I'm terribly sorry about the poor lighting in here. I will fix that in the near future. Okay, so now that's done. We're going to go to preset. Just to exit out of that menu, we're going to press the right arrow. We're going to save it to 3. Now that's saved. Now again, sorry, I have to do this one-handed. I know that's a terrible cheesy trumpet sound, but you can imagine using that with a really grimy bass effect to get a nice dubstep kind of wobble from it. Okay, so again, really it's just a matter of you go into edit, you just very lightly touch whichever control you want to change. You'll make sure it's set to the MIDI channel you want changed. Enter all of that in, go to preset to exit out of the menu. Press the right button, it'll prompt you to save to whichever preset number you want, and then push enter there, and that's it. I'm not sure, I mean, we can try it with something else. Let's see here. Let's try like the pitch bend. You just touch it, go to edit, pitch bend, so again, this is for preset 4, enter. Now, as far as the bend range, why can't I get to the bend range? What I actually did, I'm not sure that there's a way to do it in here, which is strange. I would think there would be. Maybe I'm just ignorant to it. But I simply went into, let me see if I can find it. I changed the bend range. Here we go. Under MIDI, you have clock, and then down to bend range. And you can set it. I believe +2 would be one whole step, a whole note up. Let's go crazy, right? Let's go for like a full octave. Also, these pads are very stiff, and I don't believe there really is a touch sensitivity on the EMX, so I always have that set on full level. So I don't miss any notes when I'm sequencing or programming in the EMX. I believe that is everything. If there's anything that I missed, please let me know in the comments, and I can always make a follow-up video to this. Again, sorry, it's super low budget. I'm using my cell phone, the lighting's shit. But I hope this helps y'all out. In another video, I'm going to be showing how I use my EMX to control the DMX lighting for all the stage lighting for my band. LED can fixtures and lasers and all that good stuff. It's a really efficient way to do it, and the EMX is a complete beast. It really does it all. So why not make use of that? So thank you very much for watching. If this helped, please like the video and consider subscribing as well. I'm a super small channel right now, but who knows? Maybe that'll change one day with your help. So thank you very much, and take care. See you next time.